When I decided to look at what I wanted to do for my senior project, it was right around the time that the school acquired the new Rockefeller farm properties. And the debate around what was going to happen there in the future really intrigued me. So I decided that I wanted to build a tool that would help our community decide how to best use this land. So I used the Cameron and Delator farm properties donated by the Rockefeller family and the Fresh Meadow Marsh watershed, which sits in the basin of Northeast Creek, which is where the farms are, as a case study for land use planning and land use planning modeling. When GIS is applied to questions of land use planning, the first consideration is for the deepest and oldest layer of the land, which is typically bedrock geology. When the most solid terrain is accounted for, next comes hydrology schematics, then soil analysis, topology and terrain infrastructure, vegetation, and then finally the human environment. This method was cemented into the field of land use planning by Ian McHarg, visionary land use planner and the father of GIS. Utilizing overlay tactics and land use estimations, we are able to deduce the future of a space from knowledge of the land's current and historical conditions. This figure is an example of a developed place and the corresponding numerical weighted grid layers that describe it in a way that a digital model can understand. This is part of the method theory behind my project's model. For this project, my preferred tools for analysis were ArcMap, Arcsine, and CommunityViz. ArcMap and Arcsine are traditional components of ArcGIS, and CommunityViz is an extension built for the program by Placeways with funding provided by the Orton Family Foundation. It's a tool that models land use development and projects future value of the land and future conditions of the land according to different development scenarios. At the conclusion of this presentation, I will show a short video fly-through that will hopefully play of the Fresh Meadow Marsh watershed and the CommunityViz build-out predictions for future development of that area. The future of the Cameron and Delator farm properties has been a much discussed topic on campus and in the community. This series of maps are the results of scenario projections for the Northeast Creek Basin at intervals from 2010 to 2050. This map here shows potential pasture areas for the grazing seasons, as well as possible shearing shed locations should we begin livestock fiber production on the properties. A survey was taken of COA faculty, staff, and students that polled interest in different types of future development for the land. The most popular choices, as well as some of the best fit solutions for the land, were the basis around which I developed the criteria for this series of maps of potential futures. This map shows, or these two maps show pasture yield estimates for the two properties. One is with an eye towards cattle care and management, cattle grazing fields, and the other is with an eye towards field production and what we could expect to get as a yield out of those crop layers. Woodlot production was not a very popular possibility at the time that the survey was taken of the community, but with new projects like the Woodshed Initiative and the existing supportive infrastructure, including two access roads, one on the Cameron property and one on the Delator property. The Woodlot one is the one on your right. I think that woodlot production could become a very positive land use application for the farm. 50% of the Cameron farm acres and almost 40% of the Delator land is prime for woodlot production and potential heritage apple orchard areas. Oh, and forestry management education as well. When all of the individual maps were completed, I developed a final best fit proposal that included different combinations of development plans, which looks like this. The final result is largely a cumulative view of the individual scenario maps. Finally, this presentation will conclude with a short video of the three-dimensional environment within which these scenarios were developed. CommunityViz allowed me to model future development for the Fresh Meadow Marsh watershed for the years 2020, 2035, and 2050. I just hit next, right? Yeah, okay. Ooh. So this is MDI. I don't know if you can recognize it from here. And this is a program called Arcsine, and these layers have been extruded using elevation values in attributes of the layer The pink outline, if you can see that, it's very small, are the two properties where they sit in the basis of the water, or the basin of the watershed. So, as we get a little closer, you'll notice that this is the existing buildings layer, projections for 2020, projections for 2035, and projections for 2050. And then we'll go in a little bit further, and the same layers will be applied in that order. So again, this is the basin. Existing buildings. Well, sorry, this is existing buildings. And then projections for 2020. Ta-da! And then 2035 and 2050. Thank you.